Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Case, which is a podcast where global leaders from the Harvard Business School OPM community join in a personal capacity, and they share the real decisions, failures, and mental models that went behind building their enduring companies. My guest today is a very special person. Her name is Linnette Lay. Linnette, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to commend Sohin for starting this podcast and thank you for inviting me to this. Every interaction that I've had with Sohin at HBS has been so genuine. He's so humble. And the fact that he's doing this project is so cool. That he started this podcast and is interviewing different classmates. That's so cool, Sohin, that you're doing this. So I just wanted to shout out to you before we get started, the fact that you've even done this podcast and set up all the things. So there's that. Hello, everybody. My name is Linnette, and you said my name correctly, Linnette Lay. That's like actually pretty hard, but my name is Linnette Lay. I am a founder and COO of MyStudio, which is a software company, and we serve martial arts companies and enrichment centers in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, essentially helping these membership-based businesses do all the things that are related to serving their students and oftentimes their children who are coming to their schools. And that goes from getting a lead, converting them to a member, taking care of them as a member, and keeping them for a long time.
Linnette, how did you get started in this?
I've co-founded this company. I co-founded MyStudio. It came out of some needs that my co-founder and I had. My co-founder is a black belt in Taekwondo. And most of our clients are martial arts schools. And when it first started, we didn't mean to start a business. It was more like we have some issues and things that we'd like to be better within our experience in our company. And we created something to solve it. And eventually other friends and colleagues encouraged us to share it with others. They asked, could we try it too? And what started as a free app, today, I think it's been 8 years since we started the company. It's now a robust, full platform for people to run their businesses on. And how it kind of came about was I'm not originally a martial artist. Now I do take Taekwondo. Essentially, my co-founder is my partner in life as well. So when we got married, he said, now you're going to join me as an owner of this company. And we're both business minded. So he was actually at Harvard Business School in the PLD program. And graduating from there, I was graduating from Kellogg's MBA program, their 2-year program there. I was also a management consultant. And my focus in my work was around digital transformation and innovation. The technology that we were working on isn't necessarily just for industries that were super techy. I was working with retail, I was working with energy companies that weren't necessarily always known for having great technology. So that was my day job. And then at night, once I learned, oh, let me take this seriously, let me learn about this business, I started taking classes. I didn't tell anyone who I was. They didn't know who I was. Without any makeup or anything, I looked like I'm 15. So they didn't bat an eye. They're like, oh yeah, this is another high schooler from down the street. So that gave me, I think, a really good perspective. It's kind of like secret shopping in a way. I was like, okay, I'm an athlete, but I don't know anything about martial arts. And I'm kind of nervous. How does the team make me feel as a new customer? And then when I'm taking classes, I could also tell from our staff's body language, what did they enjoy about their job? What did they like? What did they not like? Then obviously I saw the back end, the different systems we were using, the different technologies we were using. And also we had like a giant filing cabinet in the studio that had some payment information. And I was like, why do we need to do this? We're filling out manual forms when they're not that necessary for martial arts, when usually your subscription is maybe like $100 a month. So essentially all the different learnings that I got from being a student at the school helped me too. And my partner, he had been owning the business for decades at that point, and he'd been teaching for decades as well. And so just to merge someone who's been through it, for like lived and breathed it, and someone who's coming from a beginner's mindset, completely new to the whole situation, and combining those things and then talking through what could be. A lot of things are already wonderful. What else could we do to make this even better? And this learning from both of our business school experiences, we were thinking through how could we bring adjacencies into this business? What are things that are doing well in other industries that we could bring into the martial arts? The martial arts, it's not a traditional industry that gets a lot of attention from a lot of technologies and big companies because it's highly fragmented. A lot of individual owners of these locations, small business owners. And I looked at it and I said, there's no reason why we can't bring the best technology into this industry. We borrowed some things from Shopify, Eventbrite, basically all these different things that we needed for summer camps. We run summer camps for kids. We run after school programs for kids. We do special events. We do like parents' nights out. And then obviously the recurring membership billing. So it was like a combination of a lot of different functions, websites, all of that into one. That's what my studio has essentially turned into. It's turned into an improvement of all these individual types of softwares and putting it into one place, and very tailored toward martial arts and children enrichment kind of companies. The way that they sell, who they serve, there are nuances to it. We've been able to tailor our software to be very specific to those groups over time. When we started, we didn't start the company with like the idea we were going to create this large company or it was going to be a multi-million-dollar company. It was really just to allow us to scale more of our operations at the martial arts level. At the time, we had two and a half locations. Today, we own 4 locations. The brand is called InCourage Martial Arts. We have 5 InCourage Martial Arts schools that are under the brand, and I believe we have 6 affiliates. So essentially, they do all the same things that we do. We coach them. They're part of the team, but everything is their own branding. They use the same operational plans, the same marketing. We just change out the colors and the logo and things like that. So it's grown to be very large compared to what we were at 2.5 locations back then. And today, our largest location just hit like $1.6 million last year in that one location with a 35% net. You have to be very diligent in order to reach those financial numbers in that type of business. The average across the locations is over $1 million with 30% net profit. And so, yeah, we built it just to make the operations tighter. You have to be lean, being super lean, being very careful about how we spend money, and also be very cognizant of how we make money. Martial arts in itself is one stream of revenue, but we also serve a need around after school. We live in the Washington, D.C. area, and oftentimes a lot of the families are dual income, high earning families who oftentimes work in the government. They go to work in D.C. area. They need people to help them with their children. They either can get a nanny or they can get this program that transports their children from school safely to the facility, get them to work out, exercise, learn self-confidence, discipline, work toward this sport, as well as get their homework done and then socialize and do active things. We don't have them watch TV or a lot of things like that. It's very, very active. And so for a parent, you're providing them somewhere safe, somewhere fun, somewhere that's going to get them active. And also it helps with their mental safety, because our team is very, very child focused, very fun. We talked about Starbucks being like a third place. InCourage is like a third place. Oftentimes the children will start at 4 or 5 years old and they'll grow up through the program until they're 18 and they'll come work with us, and whole families will become black belts together. And so it's a community place. We fell into it. It was like, we want this. Let's make this thing. It was actually on a board similar to this one. I'm in our home office. It was just like, be the best technology in martial arts, the martial arts industry or something. And it was just like a very high goal that we had said out loud during a meeting that we had with our team. And then we didn't really know how we would do it. It didn't have a plan, but we're just like, that's a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And I think a lot of luck happened, and that led to it turning into an actual business. And we were profitable in the first year. We built a software company with no funding. It's still completely bootstrapped. We still own 100% of the company, and it's rolling. But we just put one foot in front of the other, and that's kind of where we landed.
You were profitable from year one. So did you roll your profits into building the software technology?
Totally. Yeah.
And do you have a background in engineering, or does your partner have a background in computer science?
So my co-founder, his name is Tu. He dropped out of college, out of a double major in communications, computer science. He dropped out his senior year to pursue teaching martial arts full time. I think at the time he said his family was like, "What? Why did you do that?" He knew what he liked and he followed his passion. But I think that beginnings of the computer science helped him prep for what would become now. I worked in technology as a tester for some softwares. I think that helps now with like QA and understanding generally that we're talking about releases and code changes and cutovers. But no, I don't technically have any computer science background. I have some SQL queries that I learned from that testing time, but nothing formal.
How do you think your early career shaped you into becoming the founder that you are today?
So I started in consulting, and it gave me a really good foundation. Like, my lifestyle was 100% traveling. I was traveling like Sunday to Thursday or Friday, and I basically only had a time to like do my laundry and maybe check mail and then go back again. That helped me to, one, learn a lot of different team styles, leadership styles in a short amount of time, because you're going from project to project, different industries, which I think helped me to mature more, in the sense
Mm.
that I was able to be under the leadership of a lot of different people, try different parts of the country in the US and industries. Seeing the pace of like a financial services is going to be different than a super high tech client, which is different than a computer or a consumer products client. And so I think that helped me to get a breadth of experiences, and also to see what I liked and what I didn't love. Also thought about, I don't want to run myself into the ground where I feel overworked and feel unsure of what my purpose was. So at 4 years into consulting, I was basically, what am I doing with my life? Like, the types of projects sounded really cool. The brands I was working with are the brands you want to work with. But I felt empty. And that was why I started applying to business school. Maybe this will be a good way for me to kind of reset and try something different. So when I was in business school, I really focused on social impact. I was part of this organization called Net Impact. It's all
Mhm.
about how do you impact the society in a positive way while using business. And so I think being overly overworked in my first job helped me to really think about, what is the purpose of my time? What am I using my talents for? Do I want to do this for my whole life? Do I see anybody in the path that I'm on that looks like me, that I can relate to, that I feel like I can be like, and I want that lifestyle? At the time, I didn't. It helped me to learn a lot about what I did and didn't want, essentially. And so when I was in business school, I was also sponsored. My consulting company had paid for me to go to business school, but that gave me a lot of flexibility, in the sense that, like, I was free to try whatever I wanted. I interned with a startup. I was going through fundraising, I was working on pitch decks, and it was a social impact fashion company. Then I was in the entrepreneurship program by accident at Kellogg. It was just a really popular class that everyone likes at Kellogg under Carter Cass. It's called New Venture Discovery. Everyone bids on it, and you have to win the bid in order to get the class. And I got the lottery and I got in. Went to this class, and the approach to business entrepreneurship was around, find problems that are acute enough that people are willing to pay for a change for it. Don't start a company that you think like, don't start a t-shirt company when there's nobody who wants a t-shirt. Really work on finding the right problem and the ones that really matter. That has shaped the way that I view my job now. I'm constantly looking for problems to solve, and what are the most critical ones that we can fix. I started a company out of business school. It's called Tribe. And it was
Mhm.
around solving the issue around loneliness and families. You feel like you know your family, but do you really know your family always? Because your family is always changing. Like, you have a brother. I met him
Yeah.
during the Diwali dinner. I'm sure you could tell me where your brother went to school, how old he is, what his wife's name is, what his kids' names are. Those are table stakes, right? About people that you care about. This problem that I was trying to solve, and what I eventually created, was this product that was supposed to help you get to know those that you love and care for the most even more. Because today, your brother's going to be different than he was yesterday, than he was 2 days ago. What he's worried about right now is going to be different than what he was worried about a year ago. And as someone who really loves someone and cares about someone, I wanted to solve the issue around, even if you've got a lot of family, you can still be lonely. Even if
Mm.
you've got a lot of people who love you, you can still feel like they don't really know what's going on in your life. So this product was to bring out those things so that we could be more present for each other.
Yeah.
And then that led to a lot of like cool conversations throughout business school. Ended up using it not only for my multi-generational, multilingual family to, get to bond and get to know each other, and constantly re-strengthen how we interact with each other. It's also really great for getting to know brand new people, hanging out with new friends. We would use it. I've used it actually at OPM. I used it with the
Mm.
ladies. And
The
after
Divas group.
yeah,
Yeah.
we played Tribe during one of our hangouts there, and it helped to break the ice, because when you meet someone, you're like, oh, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do for a living? And that's kind of table stakes. But this challenge is a little bit, it goes deeper. It ended up being a simple card game, and it physical touch. It introduces kind of making yourself kind of silly or embarrassed. Eventually, the point of the game is to lead you into a deep conversations that will just get you to getting to know people way beyond the surface.
Lynette, before my studio took off, was there any uncertain moment you had or a huge difficulty you faced? And how did you think through those situations to keep moving forward?
I would say it was during my studio that we had extreme difficulty. You see, there was COVID, which everyone went through something during COVID. You and I got married. I integrated into the martial arts business. And then about a year in, we created the software company, MyStudio. And then during that time, we had a baby, then we had another baby, and then we had another baby. And so we had multiple babies. We had actual human babies, we had a martial arts company baby, and then we had like a really, really new software baby. But my actual human baby, my third child, he changed our perspective in such a big way. When he was 3 weeks old, he was diagnosed with leukemia. So at 3 weeks, he was having difficulty breathing, and I was like, this is strange. We took him to the doctor and ended up in an ambulance, and he ended up being admitted to the intensive care unit and put on a ventilator. So if you're imagining like a tiny baby, he had petechiae, which is like these spots all over his body. His white blood cells were impacting his ability to clot or something like that. He looked so sickly. He was in the ICU, and then he ended up being moved to the cancer floor at the Children's Hospital here. And the type of leukemia he had is called AML. That's acute myeloid leukemia. And it's a type that basically, to treat it, you have to go through chemotherapy that wipes the entire immune system. He went through 6 rounds of chemo. Each time he was extremely immunocompromised. So something simple as like your normal bacteria on your skin or a cold or COVID, those all became life-threatening to him. And so every day we were fighting for his life. And as a breastfeeding mom, I was particularly connected to him, and I also was his only source of food. We tried to give him formula, he vomited every single time. So it was like, okay, I am the only way to, like, in terms of sustenance, like he would not take anything else. That time it was like nothing matters except trying to keep him alive. And I would say that perspective really made us have to prioritize. We had 2 businesses, we had we had 2 toddlers at home, and we had a baby who was every day. It was like we said it was 12 hours at a time. Every doctor shift, I think the nurses and doctors had like a 12-hour shift, and we would take it one shift at a time, in the sense that like, well, let's try to get through this with as little complication as possible, and then we move to the next shift. And taking that day by day really made me think about what is important in life. And ultimately, he went through 6 rounds of chemo, had probably 30, I think over 30 transfusions. We had multiple blood drives for him. Before this, I never really thought about cancer, and then I didn't think about the importance of donating blood. But now after seeing, like, literally my son was hanging on by a thread and he absolutely needed blood, now I totally understand how it saves lives. And so that definitely shifted my mentality around these medical things that I've heard of, people who are in life-threatening situations, people who are in ambulances. Like, I've been in so many ambulances already, like in the past 4 years. Now when we go through a fire drill or something's really serious at work, I'm like, is it cancer? Is someone gonna die? No? Okay, we're good. Like, we can get through this, guys. Because there were so many situations at the hospital where it was like, oh, he's having a brain hemorrhage. And seeing the way that the nurses handled it, the doctors handled it, they handle these life-threatening issues every probably couple hours. And for me, I got conditioned to it because we were there for 9 months in the hospital. And so that was my day. Like, I lived in the hospital. I literally had my own bed. I had all my stuff there, and I showered there. I ate there. I was like literally best friends with like the person on the cafeteria at the hospital. He's like, "Hey, how are you doing today? What would you like? The same thing as yesterday?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so one definitely impacted like how we prioritize time. So coming out of that, when I was talking to you before about like my first career, my first job, I was always away from my loved ones. I had no personal time. And so now we're very intentional about how we craft our schedules and our time as to not miss out on family time. Because I missed out so much of it, during the time that Jayce, my son, was in cancer treatment. I missed out on a lot of my 3-year-old and my 1.5-year-old's life during those 9 months. When they're that little, they grow so much, and so I literally only got to see them for maybe I don't even know. I didn't get to see them every day, and so I missed out on a ton of their lives, and then because we had an immunocompromised baby, we also missed out on the rest of our family because they all had to live their lives and they couldn't quarantine. So we had a very small pod that quarantined with us, but then anyone beyond that pod, we didn't get to see. So we missed out on so many life moments during that time and had to continue being protective of Jayce's health after he got out of the hospital and treatment because he continued to be immunocompromised for a while as his system rebuilt up. He ended up finishing treatment and he's in remission now. We're so thankful for it because AML for infants is extremely deadly. We're really lucky and blessings got Jayce out of that. And today he's hilarious and growing and fun. But that definitely impacted our values, our principles. Like the decision to go to OPM was a big one because I'm trading off time, 3 weeks of time at a time away from my young kids. I mentioned to you I have 4 children. So since Jayce, we also have another one. So I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old Jayce, and a 1-year-old. And so balancing being a business owner, going to school, and being really, really present mom and spouse, those are all things that are really important to me. But the most important is the family part. And so we're very intentional about all of those. That being said, that experience having been away from work or working from the hospital during that time also proved out why I'm so passionate about what we do at my studio and at InCourage. So on the InCourage side, our team rallied. We've gone through so many things together on the InCourage time. So there's on the InCourage side. So there's saying, Linnette, too, you guys focus on saving Jayce's life. We got this. Operationally, they know what to do. Their strategy is sound. And martial arts is very community based. We've trained together. We've gone through so many things together that was there. At the same time, the software company was new. And so our team rallied around that because we had the MyStudio technology that was running InCourage. I was able to see all the financials. If the team needed something, I was able to create it from the hospital. Those key things I needed to know as an owner were available to me at my fingertips at the hospital. Coming out of treatment, it made me think, okay, so I just spent almost a year fighting for my son's life. Do I want to continue working? Do we want to do this anymore? And our decision was yes, because we felt so passionate about the freedom that MyStudio, the software, afforded us as owners of InCourage, of a martial arts school. I would say a lot of martial arts schools and small business owners in general, if they were to take themselves out of their business for 9 months, the business would probably would close.
Yes.
If they were able, and even like, let's say a week, 2 weeks, going on vacation, whatever it might be. God forbid it's something as extreme as your kid has cancer and now you can no longer be in your office or your studio. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But what I saw that it allowed me as an owner of a martial arts school, I want that for others so that they can step away to take vacation. Or if they have a medical emergency for themselves or someone they love, they can step away. Because a lot of them can't. If they're using our software correctly and to this full extent, because it does so many amazing things, that they're going to have so much more time and the ability to be like, if I have a medical emergency, it's going to be okay. The team will be fine. I'll be able to operate from remotely as well. Multiple things came out of the whole thing with Jayce. One, time is so precious and I need to be super careful with it. And that has really impacted how I also view my teams, because when they're at work, I want them to be very, very impactful and efficient at work so that they can leave as soon as their time is done and really be there with their families. And so when I say, please don't slack me after 5 o'clock when you get off, I mean it. And please, if you're going to send something in the middle of the night, schedule it to actually send at 9 a.m., whatever it might be. Because for us, family time is so important because we have 4 small kids. We also have multiple businesses. But in order for us to be really focused and present, we need to know how to turn it on and off.
Linnette, thank you for sharing that. You've gone through an incredible journey, you and your husband both. You're a mother of 4. Just thinking about what you've lived through while balancing an early stage business, which is the only thing that most of us do. It's an impressive feat all by itself. You spoke about prioritizing, and I would like to dig deeper into that. What are some of the systems you've put in place or mental checklists to make sure you don't compromise on time with your loved ones?
Yeah, I think schedule has allowed us to organize our time. Everything around my kids' stuff is on the schedule. Even on my schedule, I know what time I'm driving them to school, what time they're getting picked up, who's doing it, if I'm not doing it. In terms of work priorities, everything is scheduled. So what am I working on during this period? When am I getting off? When are we transitioning to family time? Our kids also go to sleep pretty early. They go to bed by 7:30. The time from 4 to 7:30, we're hanging out with them, checking on how school was, doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
We have a weekly family golf. We eat dinner together. We do bedtime, bath time, reading time, and then we put them to sleep. We also have scheduled dates, so weekly dates. Basically, highly scheduled is my answer to how we're able to prioritize, because if it's not on the schedule, it becomes subject to somebody coming up and taking that time from us. I think on the outside, maybe my life sounds crazy, like four little kids and 2 businesses and going to school. I think daily exercise has helped me a lot, and making sure that we have things like the weekly dates have been really important, because we see each other all day at work, at home. Then to actually have time every week that is dedicated to just the 2 of us, it's been a game changer, because it allows us to stay connected on the most personal level. That's beyond, okay, what are our work priorities? Oh, what do we need to do for the kids? It's like making sure that we're continuing to stay best friends. All of that together, I feel very balanced.
How has motherhood changed your definition of leadership?
Motherhood coincided with me being a business owner, in the sense that I'm responsible for others. I'm always trying to do what's best, and also exemplify what I want, be an example of what the behavior that I want to see, and also cognizant that I'm being watched. And it's not like do as I say and not as I do. I want them to do as I do as well as what I say. And hopefully those things align. What I do also aligns with what I say. So if I'm asking for patience for my kids, I also remind myself I need to be patient and model that behavior if I want them to be patient. Then at work, if I'm saying I would like us to have a really great feedback culture and I want us to give feedback very quickly, I need to model that behavior. Coming out of HBS, a big theme was your team needs feedback, the Andon cord, and all these different things. Situations where I'm seeing this thing, I'm feeling this thing, and then I'm remembering I need to act on this. Then I'll go up to the person and say, hey, out of the spirit of transparency and wanting to give feedback, I wanted to share something that I noticed. Whereas I think before OPM, I had gotten to this rut where I was like, oh, I'm not going to talk about it right now. Maybe I'll talk about it at the meeting later next week. Parenting has been extremely humbling in the sense of like, I need to act as I'm teaching the same thing at work and at home. I'm just constantly trying to not mess my kids up, not mess my team up, and trying to be as much of a role model and genuine to what I'm saying as much as possible.
Are there any frameworks or jargons you brought home from OPM, which you and your husband end up talking about or discussing at home?
Gotta love DOS. He's always talking about how do you make the customer a hero. I'm always like, in this situation, how are we making our customer the hero? And also DOS was saying, how do you make your team the hero too? If I want my team to make the customer the hero, I really need to think about how do I frame team's experience so they feel like they're a hero too. So it's like definitely impacted, taking it to another level, I would say, of how do we shape this experience for our team? How do they provide the best customer support, um, customer care if they're not being cared for? They don't feel like they're super being cared for. And the level that we're trying to achieve is really high. And so I'm like, all right, we got to really crank it up more notches of how much we're taking care of our team and how much we're taking care of our clients. Right now, it's only been 3 weeks since we left campus. And so I have a very long list of to-dos or key takeaways, but I'm chipping at it. And one of the first one is the Andon cord from Toyota.
Yeah.
That's the first case study I did with my team. And I referenced it right before I got onto this meeting with you, with our team around Andon cord, the feedback, how important it is before it becomes this giant problem. Let's flip it right when you see it.
This weekly date thing sounds like a game changer. Are there any other frameworks you have to make sure you respect each other's entrepreneurial ambition, allow each other to take decisions which the other might find a way to agree with?
I think the fact that we're both in OPM is kind of like a framework in the sense that at first he went to OPM. So he was part of HBS's Program for Leadership Development, PLD, 10 years ago. And
Okay.
then last year he enrolled in OPM and I came to visit him. I sat in Doss's class in the back and I had a 3-month-old baby with me. He was outside of class, but then I
Oh.
went to office hours with my baby to Doss.
Uh-huh.
So two had signed up to meet with Doss for 15, 20 minutes or something. I was wearing my baby and Doss looks at me. He goes, "So when are you coming here?" And I said, "Professor, I have 4 kids. I can't hear." And he goes, "Yes, you can. Two is perfectly capable of taking care of his own children."
Yeah.
And he said, it's gonna be good. If you're both going through the process, if you're both going through the program, you're going to understand and speak the same language. If one of you goes, it's going to be, it's going to be good too, but it's just going to be different when one is at home, fully in the operations of the business as well as at home. And he's coming back with all these crazy ideas. And I'm just like, what? And I get it because I just got out of being, we were just in Boston for 3 weeks and how intense it is and all the different ideas. I'm sure your list of notes from class is long
Yeah.
too. Man, I want to do this and this and this. I think it's a part of our strategies for both of us to be going through the OPM program so that we can magnify the impact that OPM is having on us. It allows us to understand each other more because I thought I could kind of understood, okay, you're at Harvard, living group, 3 weeks. I didn't really understand why he couldn't answer his phone as much. Then I went to OPM, I'm like, wow, this is a very full day. And you're exhausted, you're not sleeping well, you're reading so many cases, you're hanging out with as many people as you can because everyone is so nice and awesome and fun. And it helps because we understand each other. He also gave me my space when I was at OPM. I hope that I can be very understanding when he's there again next fall, and I'll be like, okay, I totally get it. I will leave you alone. You do your thing, and I have the home front and the office front. I think it allows us to also co-teach our team. So the Toyota case, we taught the case to our team in our meeting. Like we're very complementary, I would say. So the takeaways that he has from a particular case, some of them overlap with mine, but then I also could take some other takeaways from the same case or the same lessons from Das or Anant or whoever it might be. I think that allows us to extract more from the learnings and give more to our team. I am also leveling up in terms of my leadership, my strategic acumen, and things that we're learning in class, negotiations, all those different things. It helps us I would say it probably helps him to trust me even more. It's like, okay, she's fresh off of the things that I just learned too. So we can go at it like we're both got a lot of ammunition on us to think through critically all these different problems and ideas and challenges that we're facing. I feel like it makes us more equal partners. So that's one strategy, I would say. Go to OPM
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, beyond just giving Das credit for how he teaches and unpeels the different layers of a case, huge props to him for planting the seed of OPM for you.
Yeah.
Was he the reason why you considered the program, or were you always somewhere considering it, given your husband had enrolled in it?
Honestly, I think part of me wants to say I'm a feminist, more power to women and everything like that. But really, being a mom of 4 small children, I didn't even think about it. I was like, what? When he said, when are you coming here? And I'm like, huh? And I said thank you to him in person. And I also said thank you to him, I think, on a post on LinkedIn because he challenged that thought for me. I was like, oh, I'm just a mom now. I'm a mom, yes, I have these companies, but a lot of my time and attention is toward being a parent, and especially after being with Jayce. Like I was literally with him 24 hours for those 9 months and didn't do anything else. It was hard for me to really I don't know if you can hear that, but that's my 1-year-old.
We can
But
break if you need to.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
My mom was here helping. Two had told me, oh, the program is mostly guys. Not a lot of them have kids that are like super young that they're primarily responsible for. There's not that many moms who are, small kids. I don't fit that profile. So it didn't even cross my mind really. Das was like, yeah, he was the first person to make me really think. And then two was like, you should apply. I'm like, really? Are you serious? Are you okay with me doing that? I wish I didn't need to have permission from others to feel like I could do it. But given my stage in life, I just felt like I couldn't. Essentially, when we got on the plane, I started applying. When I was going from Boston back to DC, I started filling out the application. And then I look a year later after having gone through the first unit. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. it's like I loved getting to know all the people. I met you. I loved being in school again. I loved being in the classroom. I loved all the things around it. Like, how could I have thought that it wasn't possible? I've been telling some of my friends that they should apply.
How do you personally evaluate risk? And has that changed since you had children?
Risk, we look at what's the worst case? Is it cancer? Everyone might be freaking out, but do we need to be freaking out right now? Like, that's kind of my how serious is this? Because I have been in some crazy medical situations and it was like life was on the line. Is this one of those? And so that's kind of my gauge. And so we recently had something happen at our company. I'm walking around through our customer care room, and they're like, "Lynette, you're really calm." I'm like, "Is it cancer? Is someone gonna die?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "We're gonna be okay." And we're fine. We got through it. And I would say maybe when I was 22 or 24, maybe I would have freaked out, but now it takes some stuff to really shake us because we've been through some stuff. So evaluating risks, like what's the worst case scenario? Are we okay with that? What's the best case scenario? What's the most probable case scenario? We're good with that? If the worst case scenario isn't that bad, let's go. Let's do it. We work because we want to help people. We do what we do in our companies because we feel like we're making a difference and we want to impact more people. And I think that helps us to take some financial risks because let's say something financially impacts us personally, we have a reserve. We have reserves. So we're like, okay, well, the upside is get to help all these people. The downside is, a little bit of a little bump in the road, but we can deal with that, right? And so like those are kind of our gauges. We're okay with a good amount of risk, but also when it comes to kids, we also are very realistic. So don't do anything too crazy that puts our kids at risk or the livelihoods of our team at risk. So those are all constant things that we think through. It's not like a single person with no children and no responsibilities, that kind of risk. I think it's a healthy amount of risk tolerance.
Tell me something you believe now that you didn't believe when you became a founder.
I would say the perspective of being an employee versus being a founder and owner is really different. And this is something I asked my team today during our all hands meeting. I said, I asked for this as we're going through these processes of rolling out new feedback, a more of a feedback muscle within our company, that we give each other the benefit of the doubt, that we give each other the assumption of best intent. I think as an employee, it's easy to get wrapped up in thinking about your particular role, and you're not really thinking about everything else that makes everything happen in a company. Whereas as a founder, you're thinking about all those things. You're thinking I have to balance the responsibility to make sure that this company continues to grow so that everyone can continue to have a job. Whereas that's not something that I had to think about as an employee. I have a responsibility to my team. And so the idea of like assumption of positive intent, assumption of best intent in the sense that let's say they submit some feedback in an anonymous survey. I'm going to assume best intent when they submitted that. And then I asked for them to assume best intent when they see, like, let's say a decision was made or a policy was rolled out, for them to assume best intent and then to use that as a way to maybe if they're wanting more additional clarity. As like an employee, you feel like I don't have control over these things. I don't know what made these decisions, and I'm just angry at it. Whereas as a founder, I'm constantly thinking about how do I balance all these different priorities and also shape everyone's experience so that they're having a good time. They're enjoying it.
What advice would you give to your younger self, the 22-year-old maybe?
Don't be afraid to try, and don't be afraid to be told no. And also don't value yourself based on how many people tell you no. I was so afraid at that time to be rejected or told that I wasn't performing well, whatever it might be. I was just very type A, wanted to overachieve in every single aspect of my life. And now how I got here has been a series of making these put myself out there a little bit, put myself out there and be at risk of people saying, no, I don't like you, or no, you're terrible, or whatever it might be. I think putting myself out there has led to these really great opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten if I played it safe, like when I was younger.
Lastly, any book that you think had a huge influence on you, or a book you'd recommend?
Right now, I'm reading a book called The Road Less Traveled. It's a lot about the psychology of how we view ourselves and view the world. So far, it's merely made me think about how I parent, also how I lead, and what kind of example of my setting, looking intrinsically as I'm looking to change the organizations. How am I doing inside? It's allowed me to think introspectively about, in order for me to incite change around me, how do I also change myself?
Yeah. Thank you for opening up. You shared your life history with us. It's inspired us a lot. I know this about you because I had the benefit of spending 3 weeks with you. You would be in classes and prepare Monday through Saturday. And then being a breastfeeding mom to a 1-year-old, you would leave Saturday, fly to Virginia, and then come back Monday morning. So kudos to you on how you've prioritized so well. You've tried to keep a balance no matter which way your schedule is pulling you. And I think you inspire me a lot. I'm sure you inspire a lot of other people as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Sohin.